Hello, fifth graders, and happy Friday. Today we're going to talk about multiplying mixed numbers by mixed numbers. I know you're going to do a great job, and so does Mr. Smiles. Let's get started. Look at number 1. What is the volume of the figure below? Remember, to find volume, count the unit cubes. The volume is 9 cubic units. I can count 9 cubes on this figure. Now let's find the volume of the figure below. To do that, we need to know the length, the width, and the height. First, let's count the number of cubes in one row of the bottom layer. What is the length? Well, I can see there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The length is 5. What is the width? How many rows are on the bottom layer? The width is 1, 2. I can multiply those to find the number of cubes on the bottom layer. What's 5 times 2? 5 times 2 is 10. Now I need to find the height. How many layers? How many layers are there? What's the height? The height is 1, 2. I can multiply 10 times 2 to find the volume. What's 10 times 2? It's 20. The volume is 20 cubic units. Let's do another example. What is the volume of the figure below? Well, I can see that this figure has a length of 7 centimeters, a width of 3 centimeters, and a height of 9 centimeters. Go ahead and find the volume now. Well, I can multiply. 7 times 3 is 21. When I multiply 21 times 9, I can find that the volume is 189 cubic centimeters. Let's look at number 4. A rectangular prism has a base with area of 64 square inches and a height of 9 inches. What is the volume? What operation do I need to use? I need to use multiplication. I can multiply 64 square inches times 9 inches. What's the volume? What's 64 times 9? Well, 9 times 4 is 36. 9 times 6 is 54, plus 3 more is 57. The correct answer is 576 cubic inches. Let's look at another example. Marquel made a figure out of 2 rectangular prisms. The first prism was 3 inches by 4 inches by 2 inches. The second prism was 6 inches by 2 inches by 5 inches. What was the volume of Marquel's figure? I need to find the volume of each individual prism, then I can add to find the total. The first prism has a length of 3, a width of 4, and a height of 2. What's the volume of that prism? Well, 3 times 4 is 12, times 2 is 24 cubic inches. Now let's find the volume of the second prism. The length is 6, the width is 2, and the height is 5. What's the volume of that prism? Well, 6 times 2 is 12, and 12 times 5 is 60. So the volume is 60 cubic inches. Now, we can find the total volume by adding the volume of each piece. Remember, volume is additive. What's the total volume? Well, 60 plus 24 is 84 cubic inches. Now let's do a problem like the ones we did yesterday. What's 2 1/4 times 1/2? What's the first step when multiplying mixed numbers? I need to change any mixed numbers into improper fractions. So I'm going to write 2 1/4 as an improper fraction. Remember, I can start by multiplying the whole number times the denominator. What's 2 times 4? It's 8. Then I can add the numerator. What's 8 plus 1? It's 9. What's the denominator? It's 4. So I'm going to rewrite my problem 9/4 times 1/2. What's 9/4 times 1/2, written as an improper fraction? It's 9/8. I only have one step left. I need to use division to convert 9/8 into a mixed number. What's 9/8 when written as a mixed number? Well, 8 goes into 9 once, with 1 left over. So the answer is 1 and 1/8. Now we're going to do our fluency. Before you start working on your own, let's do one together. Remember, to change a mixed number into an improper fraction, you can follow the steps at the bottom of the page. First, multiply the whole number times the denominator. What's 6 times 3? It's 18. Then add the numerator. What's 18 plus 1? It's 19. The denominator stays the same, so this problem would give you 19/3. Take some time now to do the fluency. Raise your hand when you're finished to show Ms. Tramontosi that you're done. Now let's move on to today's lesson. Today you are going to multiply mixed numbers. This is a continuation of what we've been learning for this week. Go ahead and write multiply in the blank at the top. Let's start with an example. Reginae is making cookies. The recipe requires 2 1/2 cups of flour. She makes 2 1/3 batches of cookies. How much flour does she use? What operation should we use to solve this problem? We should use multiplication. Why should we use multiplication? We should use multiplication because Reginae is making 2 1/3 batches of cookies. You have to add 2 1/2, 2 1/3 times. Remember that the first step to multiplying mixed numbers is to convert each mixed number into an improper fraction. Let's do that now. Write 2 1/2 as an improper fraction. 2 1/2 written as an improper fraction, well, 2 times 2 is 4, plus 1 more is 5/2. Now write 2 1/3 as an improper fraction. Well, 2 times 3 is 6, plus 1 more is 7/3. Now I need to rewrite my multiplication sentence. My multiplication sentence was 2 1/2 times 2 1/3. Now I can write it as 5/2 times 7/3. Let's go ahead and multiply. What's 5/2 times 7/3 written as an improper fraction? Well, 5 times 7 is 35, and 2 times 3 is 6. The last step is to change the product back into a mixed number. I can use division to do that. Go ahead and divide 35 by 6 and write your answer as a mixed number. Well, 6 goes into 30 5 times. 5 times 6 is 30. When I subtract, there's 5 left over. So the answer is 5 and 5/6 cups. Remember, when we multiply mixed numbers, we're going to take 3 steps. First, convert mixed numbers. Into improper fractions. Then multiply with your new improper fractions. After that, change any improper fractions back into mixed numbers. We're going to do 2 more together, and then you're going to try 4 on your own. Roshan was doing a project for history class. He made a poster that was 1 3/4 feet long and 1 2/5 feet wide. What was the area in square feet of his poster? This is a multiplication problem because I can find area by doing length times width. 1 3/4 times 1 2/5. What's the first thing I need to do? I need to convert each mixed number into an improper fraction. Let's do that. Write 1 3/4 as an improper fraction. Well, 1 times 4 is 4, plus 3 more is 7/4. Write 1 2/5 as an improper fraction. Well, 1 times 5 is 5, plus 2 more is 7/5. Now I can multiply. What's 7/4 times 7/5? It's 49/20. My last step is to convert that back to a mixed number using division. What's 49 divided by 20 written as a mixed number? Well, 20 goes into 49 twice, with 9 left over. So the answer is 2 9/20 square feet. Let's do another one. 1 1/2 times 3 1/3. The first step is to convert those both into improper fractions. What's 1 1/2 written as an improper fraction? Well, 1 times 2 is 2, plus 1 more is 3/2. What's 3 1/3 written as an improper fraction? Well, 3 times 3 is 9, plus 1 more is 10/3. Now I can multiply. What's 3/2 times 10/3? It's 30/6. Now I can divide. How do I write 30/6 as a whole number? 6 goes into 30 5 times, with none left over. So the answer is 5 0/6, or just plain 5. Let's do another. What's 1 1/4 times 2 1/2? First, I need to convert both of these mixed numbers into improper fractions. How do I write 1 1/4 as an improper fraction? Well, 1 times 4 is 4, plus 1 more is 5/4. How do I write 2 1/2 as an improper fraction? Well, 2 times 2 is 4, plus 1 more is 5/2. What's 5/4 times 5/2? It's 25/8. Now I need to divide to write that as a mixed number. How do I write 25/8 as a mixed number? Well, when I divide 25 divided by 8, 8 goes into 25 3 times. 3 times 8 is 24, so I have 1 left over. The answer is 3 1/8. Now you're going to try a few practice problems on your own. Go ahead and solve 1 2/5 times 3 1/2. Enter your answer as a mixed number. Make sure you are following the steps at the bottom of the page. Convert to improper fractions, multiply, and then change back to mixed numbers. The correct answer is 4 9/10. 1 2/5 can be written as 7/5. 3 1/2 can be written as 7/2. When I multiply, I get 49/10. 10 goes into 49 4 times with a remainder of 9, so the answer is 4 9/10. Now try another one. What's 2 1/5 times 1 3/5? Write your answer as a mixed number. The correct answer is 3 13/25. 2 1/5 is equal to 11/5. 1 3/5 is equal to 8/5. When I multiply, I get 88/25. 25 goes into 88 3 times with a remainder of 13. So the answer is 3 13/25. Try another. What's 2 2/3 times 1 2/3? Go ahead and solve that problem now. Make sure you're taking every step in the criteria for success on the bottom of your paper. The correct answer is 4 4/9. 2 2/3 is equal to 8/3. 1 2/3 is equal to 5/3. When I multiply those two fractions, I get 49ths. When I divide, 9 goes into 40 4 times, with 4 left over. So the correct answer is 4 4/9. Let's do one more. What's 1 4/5 times 1 3/4? Go ahead and solve that problem now. Make sure you're following all of the steps on the criteria for success at the bottom of the page. The correct answer is 3 3/20. 1 4/5 is equal to 9/5. 1 3/4 is equal to 7/4. When I multiply, I get 63 over 20. When I divide, 20 goes into 63 3 times with 3 left over. So the correct answer is 3 3/20. You've done a great job on this video. Go to IXL Practice M.25. Make sure that you're showing your work using the criteria for success at the bottom of the page.